Good afternoon-ish. Good afternoon. I lived in Spain for a while, and this is por la mañana still, so I'm always a little bit confused. So I'm head of unit for a unit in the DG Connect, part of the European Commission, and my responsibilities inter alia include cloud computing, both policy and research aspects of it. Which is a very interesting adventure for me because I'm a policy guy by experience, I guess, and it's quite a change to also manage these budgetary things, the framework calls and so on. So I don't know how many of you know what the European Cloud Computing Strategy is about. But broadly speaking, what happened was well, actually, let's go back a little bit further. 2 years ago, almost now, Neelie Kroes, who some of you may know because she's quite famous in this country, who's my boss and commissioner, Vice President Kroes, as she is, called me into her office and said, we're doing a reorganization of the DG, and I want you to move from general policy coordination to running the preparation of a cloud strategy, because it's not going fast enough for me. As you may know, she's a woman in a hurry. So we want something out by the summer. So, of course, it's Brussels, so we have an Indian summer. And in September 2012, we adopted a communication, which in the country I know best, we would call a white paper or a policy paper. And basically, the communication had three, well, we had a long discussion internally inside of the Commission about all the different things that we could do about cloud computing, data protection, digital content, things relating to e-commerce and so forth. And we decided that actually we don't really want to issue new legislative or regulatory agendas around cloud computing, because actually cloud computing is, in a sense, very similar to all the things we've been doing in the past on online businesses, except it's a bit more on steroids than it was before. So the proposal that the Commission as regards data protection was already out there. And I think that's very interesting. So we said, okay, what can we do in order to encourage a faster take-up of cloud computing in Europe? And well, why should we care? Well, we had a study done for us by a relatively reputable macroeconomic analysis company called IDC, and they came up with some figures of just short of €1 billion of extra GDP in the economy, in the European economy, if we manage to get the framework for adoption of cloud right. So that's actually between now and 2020. And that's actually quite a lot. And the reason why that will be the case is that it's about transforming the way in which business is done. Something like 400,000 SMEs could be built based on these the new service opportunities around cloud. Could generate something just short of 4 million jobs. Now, I don't know whether you believe this. I'm not an economist, so I'm always a little bit skeptical. These figures seem to be very large. I think the fundamental insight that cloud computing transforms the way in which business is done, the way in which IT services are delivered, and the costs thereof is nevertheless true. Now, when we come to public sector adoption of cloud computing, we've had figures of something between 30% and up to even 90% for cost reductions for like-for-like replacement of traditional ways of contracting IT and using cloud. And that's also a lot. It's very large figures, and these are real empirical figures that you may say, well, they are rather specific to particular types of service. That's not going to be the case across the board, but nevertheless, there are some gains to be made. In the country I know best, where there is a very active public cloud procurement policy, They spend something like £18 billion a year on IT resources in the UK central government. This is for about 12 billion transactions, and that implies to me that the transaction cost for IT is too high. And one of the things they're doing is trying to use cloud computing in order to bring these transaction costs down. So what did we do in September 2012 when we announced this policy paper? Well, we said basically we want to do three things. We didn't want to regulate cloud per se, but what we did want to do is we wanted to map out what are the standards which are relevant to cloud, what are the certification schemes which are relevant to cloud, and what do they do for us. And we wanted to look at contract structures, both for consumers and small firms, the sort of take it or leave it contract structures that you get in a public cloud environment, but also in relation to corporate environments where there is a certain more degree of negotiation in relation particularly to service level agreements. And we wanted to have this, the thing we're talking about this afternoon, which is a greater degree of information sharing and knowledge about how the public sector can move into the cloud, given the cost advantages, but also the innovation advantages related to it. So what we wanted to do, therefore, was to create a framework, if you like, of greater transparency around cloud computing. And we've been working a lot with the industry over the last year and a half in order to establish that. And I think we're on the way. We, with the help of ETSI, the European Telecom Standards Institute, announced a map of cloud-relevant standards covering interoperability, SLAs, and security last December, and that's available on their website and involved about 200 technical experts providing this mapping. We, in February, our Network and Information Security Agency, ENISA, which is a heavy participant in behind the conference over the next couple of days, put on their website a listing, an objective listing of 5 cloud-relevant security schemes, and they're moving on, and I think they will talk about, to some extent, about creating meta frameworks which would allow comparison of these kinds of schemes and what they offer you in relation to security control requirements of cloud users. And that's another step forward. We've sent, as a result of work in Cloud Select Industry Group, which is a self-selecting select industry group, and it's selected on the basis of who's willing to put the effort in, basically. A working group, a subgroup of this industry set of interests is sent on the 27th of February, I think it was, to the Article 29 Working Party, which is the College of Data Protection Authorities in Europe, a proposal for a code of conduct, an industry code of conduct for data processors, which would say, okay, we are committing to doing these things on data protection and security, and would you please give us a positive approval, because that will help people who are data controllers, generally speaking businesses that handle personal data, some confidence that we've done our due diligence and therefore will be in a good place as regards any potential legal pursuit. We're waiting for the feedback of the Article 29 Working Party, but we expect it to be constructive, because we've had some of the data protection authorities involved in these discussions since the beginning, advising us on what to do and what not to do. And we hope by the summer that we will have that, we'll have a positive opinion on that, and that will allow us to provide a good operational code of conduct procedure. So lots of work has been going on over the last year and a half. In addition, we've been working through something called the European Cloud Partnership Steering Board, and we have got some of the people who are involved in that activity sitting here today, because they're also involved in the other part of the procurement work. The European Cloud Partnership Steering Board, hold on one second. The European Cloud Partnership Steering Board was a group of about 20 very high-level people, including the senior CIOs from about 7 member states, an SME, and some relatively well-known CEOs of big corporations like SAP, Software AG, F-Secure, and so on. And in addition, also the Chief Technology Officer of Amazon. They got together and they agreed a report which is called Trusted Cloud Europe, which we published very recently, and I hand some of these out. They've got a nice little QR code in the corner. We're doing a survey on the proposals in there. It was a very big effort by the people involved in this activity to come to a document which was interesting and forward-looking, and also acceptable to all of the partners, because it was quite a diverse group. And I take my hat off to them and to the people who were involved in forging that agreement. Now that's a very interesting document, because, and here's why I get into trouble with that group, because I'm going to put my interpretation of what they're saying. So they're saying basically testing out 3 ideas. One idea is that we should have some kind of common framework or best practice framework for cloud service delivery in Europe. Second idea is that we should be reviewing, having a look again at some of the data location requirements that are existing in legal legacy, if you like. If you can have legal legacy, it's too many LEGs in one sentence. But the basic work behind this showed was that there are a lot of functional requirements, or a lot of formal requirements which require data to be located in a particular jurisdiction or in a particular organization, which could be replaced by functional requirements, which would be more adapted to the delivery of cloud services, where there is it makes a great deal more sense to have an architecture which doesn't necessarily respect specific regional or national boundaries. And basically the idea would be to do a review and see where we can replace formal rules with functional rules. Sometimes these are just custom and practice. In other words, it's just easier to carry on thinking about things in the way in which you did in the past than it is to transfer your thinking into the future. And in many cases, you may still want to keep formal requirements for data location. In other cases, though, you might be able to lift it a bit for certain kinds of data, for certain kinds of services, and that could improve quite a lot the efficiency of service delivery and bring costs down, allow greater innovation. And the third one is what I would call more of a cloud active procurement approach, which is to at least consider cloud as one of the ways of procuring IT resources before you sign on the dotted line or you issue a contract using the traditional ways of doing things. So that consultation is out until the 2nd of May. It's not a commission consultation. It's a consultation coming from this group, which was chaired by President Ilves of Estonia. So it's a very high-level group, and we will see what comes back and use that as part of our preparation of future policy proposals, particularly in view of the fact that we're moving towards a new college, new European Commission college over the summer. And I think it's a good moment to be reviewing what we have been doing and what we should be doing now. So that's more or less where we are, except that, of course, what I haven't mentioned is Cloud for Europe. Now, I didn't want to talk about Cloud for Europe because Linda was going to talk about that. And I think that anyway will be the subject for the afternoon. The only thing I really want to say about this is it is a really important project for us. It's not a particularly large project in the overall scheme of things. There's about 10 million euros of European taxpayers' money going into it. So it's not insignificant, but it's small compared to the overall size of the issues at stake. But nevertheless, we think it's really important. It's important because it brings together different member states at a senior level to try to figure out what the technical requirements for cloud services might be. And it operates in a way where industry has a chance to propose ideas to solutions, if you like, and work those solutions out with the public sector. And I think that's a very big step forward, because although there is a fair amount of public sector procurement of IT services going on using cloud-type solutions. And we're aware of some of those. There doesn't seem to be as quick or as confident a take-up as we would hope in order to get the benefits into the economy and into the public sector. So this is an important project for us, and that's why I welcome this opportunity for a sharing of views this afternoon between the consortium and the industry. So with that, I will hand the floor back to Linda, who I guess will convey you into the next session. And I've got plenty of these which I'll put outside.